Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is Wednesday now into Thursday from the 27th. Still the 27th. You're still awake, I say. Into the 28th, 2011. Thanks for staying up late with us tonight. We'll be getting into a lot of news and information for you here on the broadcast this evening, and we will also be continuing in our reading William Bramley. We left off last time reading on a chapter about the Count of Saint Germain. I'd like to continue there where we left off last time tonight for you. So I hope you'll make some coffee and do yourself a Mountain Dew enema, whatever you got to do, and stay up late with us here tonight as we broadcast it out into the atmosphere. We're really starting to turn this Moonbat late night thing into a regular thing. Pretty much when I do the show now, but I like that. I've loved the flexibility of doing the show, and so I've just pretty much said that from now on, I'm just going to do the show whenever I want to do it. There's not going to be a set time for this broadcast anymore ever again. I'm just going to, from now on, for the rest of eternity, I'm just going to do it whenever I want to do it. And hey, I like it that way. And I was on there for 3 hours last night with Lee Rogers on his broadcast and Live Free or Die Radio. And thanks to everybody who tuned in over there last night. It was a good show. It always is a good show. And it's up in our archive section as well. We've been replaying it here on the network for you. So if you didn't hear that show live and you didn't hear the rebroadcast or anything, definitely check that out. I think it was a lot of really good information there. So but anyway, I mean, hey, what else are you going to listen to this late, right? I mean, are you going to listen to Coast to Coast AM or the Poodlehead, or the guy with the Poodlehead Mossad agent on his head? He's not a Mossad agent, but he has one on his head. But yeah, I mean, seriously, what else are you going to listen to this early, late, however you want to look at it, whatever your particular perspective is. There's not a big bunch of news. You kind of heard, if you did listen to that show last night, you heard both Lee and my opinion on the current state of the news. And so there's a few things that tonight pertain to the news, and I want to get into some things particularly about the news and really what I've been saying for a while. You guys noticed how I started slowing down on doing as much news. We were doing like straight just news broadcasts for so long before we started reading Bramley, and it gets to the point sometimes where you feel like you just don't even want to look at it. You don't want to participate in that media cycle stuff anymore. It's just because it's just so dangerous. There's so much disinfo flying around out there, and people take things and exaggerate it and blow it out of proportion, and it's because they think that that's the right thing to do. That's what they've been conditioned to do. So we'll talk about some of that tonight as well for you. You can always email me during the broadcast, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you have comments, you have anything you want to hear me discuss here on the broadcast tonight, that's where you send that at. and I'll do my best to get into all the things that you may ask me here on the broadcast. I so love to have your emails, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. You guys always have great emails that you send in to me. Somebody wanted to know a song that I'd played before the broadcast the other night. It was Monday night. That was I sent that person an email back, but in case you didn't get the email or in case you're wondering, the song that was playing, I'll play it for you again tonight if you want. It was on a bumper, but it was playing before on Metal Monday. It was playing before the show. It was Sabra Cadabra by Black Sabbath. That was the song. So there you go, listener. I hope that answers your question there. Now, this is our fundraising week, so we need to meet our chip and banner goal. It would be good if we could do that sooner rather than later. And the goal is set there, the chip and banner, so please donate if you can and help us be able to meet the goal that we have here for paying for the bills and everything else separately from what we do with the movies and all that stuff. So please, we did get some support on the movie front, but we have to pay the bills and stuff, and that's a totally separate thing. You can't pay the bills out of what you have to put into the film. So, or at least you get into a situation where, it takes a lot longer, and we're trying to get this done as fast as we can. I'm hoping to have at least a rough cut or something that you guys can see next week. I don't know if it'll be complete, but it'll be something you can see, and you'll be getting a chance to see something next week. So I'll keep you guys posted on when that's going to happen. Hopefully it'll happen sometime on the 5th. I'm just still frantically working trying to get it done. And frankly, right now when I'm on air, I don't even want to talk about it, because when you're doing one thing all the time and it becomes something you're doing all the time, when you go to do something else, you don't really want to talk about that one thing you do all the time. It's kind of how it is with me with filmmaking right now. I'm not really interested in talking about it much, to be honest with you. It's kind of a pain to talk about, because you just, it's just those things. It's like, if all you do is, if you work in a burger joint, or you work in a pizza place, you don't want to come home and describe to everybody all the various types of pizzas that you made all day, and exactly how many toppings you put on them. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. I was fucking doing that shit all day. I don't want to talk about it now. I'm off of work. Kind of how it is for me with the filmmaking thing. So, that's just kind of how it is. But anyway, love to hear from you in the chat room as well. If you want to go in there and hang out with people in a troll-free environment, we have a troll. We try to keep a pretty troll-free environment around here. Global Reality at the Global Reality chat. Lots of moonbatters in there tonight, flapping their wings. So you might want to go in there and flap your moonbat wings as well for the Moonbat late night broadcast here for you on the Global Reality Radio Network. I continue to see, I don't know. I've seen this for so long, and I've said this before, and it's interesting because I said this about, I think, a person who's now connected to this website I'm about to talk about, but and I said the same thing. I think it was that video that person made where they were confronting Penn and Teller, and I was like, this is just kind of sloppily done. His facts are wrong. It just kind of makes other people look bad because you're amateurish. And, again, I'm willing to give people the benefit of a doubt to a certain extent that they're just noobs and they're just rookies and they make mistakes and they put out bad info. But, you just have to be aware when these things happen and when you see stuff that is disinfo. Now, you can give somebody the benefit of the doubt. And maybe you say, okay, well, we weren't aware this was disinfo or whatever have you. But after you start to see it repeated times, that can start to become a problem. So I saw this article that was posted on the Intel Hub website. High levels of radiation reported at Perry Nuclear Plant in Ohio. And their source article was One India News. Now, any of those India Paper, India Daily, India News, those are known CIA disinfo fronts. Many of these articles, if you can't find these stories traced back to any, they don't source anything. They don't say what their source of this information is, and it becomes very suspect. And then someone pointed out that there was actually an article from the local news area that reported that there was a problem with the facility. It was worded very differently, And the Intel Hub article, the one that they sourced from, it seemed to make it sound that it was worse than it actually was in the local report on the problem at the Perry nuclear plant in Ohio. I was just wondering why they didn't put that in there. So, whether they did this on purpose or whether it was a mistake, it probably most likely was an honest mistake, and they just thought it was a credible source and didn't because they, maybe they haven't been paying attention to a lot of these disinfo news sites as much as I have. Because I've been doing this for so long that I can just tell by looking at it when I see a certain story and the way it's worded and everything and blowing stuff out of proportion. If it's one of those India type sites, I can tell that immediately that that's a disinfo site. But some people can't. Some people can't do that yet. So we have to be at least willing to give those people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm totally willing to give these guys the benefit of the doubt on this. I'm not like, I'm not trying to get up here and be like, oh, they're putting out disinfo. That's not what I'm saying. I'm strictly trying to be a friend and be, play the part of somebody who has a lot of experience in this and, hopefully keep people from putting out bad, not really, intentional disinfo, but bad info and stuff that sometimes doesn't check out. And that was my whole point. That's why I'm really kind of tired of the news, because there is so much of that going around and you don't want to get yourself caught up in it, because that's exactly what they want. They love to put stuff out there like this to bait us, to try and ruin our credibility so they can come back later and say, oh, yeah, the kooks, the conspiracy theorists, blah, 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 they said this. And then we go, well, that came from, your source, your article. And they go, oh, it doesn't matter. That's, it doesn't matter because you put that there to bait us, to try and get us to take the bait and run with a story. It's all over the place. It's very rampant. And I think that if you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to be involving yourself in the news and the news cycles and having a website where you're putting up news, it's very important to be very, very attentive to the sources and the things that you're posting, because you post to too many Source of Fall articles, and if you don't know who Source of Fall is and you're posting those articles, well, I got bad news for you. But, you post one or two of those, and I've seen people, there used to be people that would come into my chat room and they would post nothing but links to these, Source of Fall or India Times disinfo articles, and they would conveniently always be the ones that would be trolling and starting shit too. So I'm just, I'm very, I don't see, I didn't see this, I'll say this. I'm going to put it to you like this. I didn't see this article posted on Lee Rogers' website. I wonder why. Because Lee probably took one look at it and said, yeah, he probably said the same exact thing I did. That this is coming from a shady source and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. So, people just need to be aware that there's so much out there that they're waiting for us to just grasp at a lot of this news that comes out is so ridiculous sometimes. And I look at hundreds and hundreds of news stories a day, thousands of news stories a week, literally. So much of my day is spent just, in front of the computer looking at news and going through and looking at different websites and things of that nature, trying to gain a bigger perspective. But some of this stuff I have to tell you, there's been a lot of stories I've seen blatantly pointed at the alternative media. You're like, why are they allowing this stuff to come out now? They're pointing this at us because they want us to run with this so they can later use it to damage our credibility. So you have to be aware of this. But we've got some various important news stories here tonight. While we're on the subject, let's just get into this now. Because this is just a completely ridiculous news story from Alternet, which they'll post anything by anybody. So I don't give this. It says it was from Miller McCune magazine by Tom Jacobs, whoever that is. Alternet. They'll post. You can pay them a fee and they'll post any article. So I don't give any credibility to this. But still, the fact that someone would think like this. And now this is the kind of reverse psychology bullshit they're trying to pull on people now that they know that there's a mass awakening happening around the planet. And there is. And you guys, a lot of you probably heard this or seen this by now, but if you haven't, you're going to laugh at this. This is the kind of horse shit that they're having to resort to now, because of the damage that researchers and you guys out there, all of us, have done to their credibility. They try to turn around, literally in this article, ladies and gentlemen, they try to turn around and use the Machiavellian mindset against, and they literally say that people who believe in conspiracy theories have a Machiavellian mindset. Now, for those of you who have been listening to this show lately, as we've been reading William Bramley's The Gods of Eden, if you've read that book or you've been reading along or you've been listening to my reading, this should infuriate you to no end. What have we established that these Machiavellian mindset operations originate from? The custodians, the elite, the ones in charge, right? These asshats now, ladies and gentlemen, are trying to say that people who believe in conspiracy theories may have a Machiavellian mindset. No, you guys are the Machiavellians, not us. You guys have been running this operation against for years, and now you're trying to flip the script and put it on us and say because we're trying to point out the truth that we have a Machiavellian mindset. This is the most Orwellian thing I've heard in a very long time, folks. This is, how much more Orwellian do you need? The Machiavellian mindset tries to say those that say that there's a Machiavellian mindset are accused of having a Machiavellian mindset. Let me say that one more time. Those who are using a Machiavellian mindset are accusing people who are exposing the Machiavellian mindset of having a Machiavellian mindset. I mean, if that's not 2 + 2 = 3, I don't know what is. One surprising reason people may believe in bizarre conspiracy theories. Okay, now, any conspiracy theorist, no doubt they try to convince you that man didn't really land on the moon or President Obama was born in Kenya. In fact, they were imparting genuinely interesting information about themselves. New research suggests belief in such theories may reveal a Machiavellian mindset. You can't make this up. At least some samples, and for some conspiracy theorists, the perception that they did it is fueled by the perception that I would do it. University of Kent psychologists Karen Douglas and Robbie Sutton write in the British Journal of Social Psychology. These studies suggest that people who have more lax personal morality may endorse conspiracy theories to a greater extent because they are on average more willing to participate in conspiracies themselves. That makes no sense. People who believe in in information and believe in the truth believe it because at some point this conspiracy has worked against them and they're trying to break free from it. We're trying to break free of the shackles that have been put around us by the system, and then the system that has put the shackles around us tries to turn it around and act like what they're doing, we're doing. This is an abomination. This is a complete affront to all journalistic integrity. The guy who wrote this shit should be ashamed of himself at minimum, be put in the corner and made to wear a Dick Cheney hat while getting beat with man Coulter with a whip at maximum. Something. My God, he'd probably like it, though. The reasons people persist in believing conspiracy theories, even when there is overwhelming evidence to debunk them, I've never really seen a lot of overwhelming evidence. I mean, maybe some dumbass ones, stuff that wasn't real anyway. But my God, have long been debated by psychologists. One credible theory contends convincing ourselves of conspiracies allows us to avoid acknowledging the terrifying arbitrariness of life. Well, yeah, well, that just wraps it up, doesn't it? Convincing ourselves of conspiracies allows us. No, man, that right there is obviously bullshit, because anybody who knows anything about anything knows that once you find out about this information, you're not anymore. You don't have no choice. You can't just avoid the terrifying arbitrariness of life anymore. And in fact, the arbitrariness of life subsides once you figure out this information. Because once you know who the enemy is, and once you know who's been keeping this oppression on you your whole life, you are no longer enslaved by it. You then can then work forward and work within that structure without being controlled by it as much. I mean, this is complete lies. This completely comes from a mindset of somebody who is writing this. This is a complete CIA operation. There's no question. Anybody in their right mind who knew anything about anything wouldn't be describing this. That's not in any way, shape, or form close to the truth of how it is when you find out the truth about information or conspiracies or whatever their stupid nomenclature wants to say it is. In a strange way, some conspiracy theories offer us accounts of events that allow us to retain a sense of safety and predictability. British psychologist Patrick Lehman noted in New Scientist magazine in 2007 that instability makes most of us uncomfortable. Douglas and Sutton aren't denying that fear avoidance plays a role, but they're pointing to a different, perhaps complementary phenomenon in some cases. They argue belief in conspiracies is a matter of psychological projection, that is, the tendency to apply one's own attitude to others. In one study, 189 British undergraduates completed the Mach 4 questionnaire to measure their level of Machiavellianism. That is, their tendency to deceive and manipulate others for personal gain. This involves expressing one's level of agreement with a series of statements such as, quote, the best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. Then they set a series of 17 statements describing well-known conspiracy theories and rated their plausibility on a scale of 1 to 7. They also rated their likelihood that if they were in the shoes of the alleged conspirators, that they would have taken part in the conspiracy. This is just sick, twisted, turnaround, reverse psychology bullshit, folks. The researchers found that personal willingness to engage in the conspiracies predicted endorsement of conspiracy theories. So did a propensity to manipulate others for personal gain. For example, they write, highly Machiavellian individuals were seemingly more likely to believe that government agents staged the 9/11 attacks because they were more likely to perceive that they would do so themselves. So, if you believe that if you believe that 9/11 was staged by somebody, and it was the truth of what they told us wasn't the truth, then that means that because you believe that, you would most likely participate in that conspiracy if you were in a position to. So I guess this is psychological evidence now for them that says that if you believe that 9/11 attacks were staged by government agents, that you were more likely to perceive that you would do so yourself if they found themselves in the government's position. So they're saying if you were in the position of the government, you would do the same exact thing. That's what they just said right there. Let me read it again. For example, they write, highly Machiavellian individuals were seemingly more likely to believe that government agents staged the 9/11 attacks because they were more likely to perceive that they would do so themselves if they found themselves in the government's position. So they're saying, they just think it's an inside job, think it's a conspiracy, and think the government did it because if they were in the position that the government's in, they would do the same damn thing. That's what they do. They'd stage it. So not only, this is choice. This is 2 for 1 for them. So not only are they figuring out a way here to say, well, what would you do? If you were us, you would have done the same thing. We can prove that scientifically. It's a Machiavellian theory. We can prove beyond any shadow of a doubt. That's what they're saying here. Scientific study. That we can prove not only would you have done exactly what the government did in staging 9/11 attacks, but also because of that, because of you having that Machiavellian attitude, believing in conspiracy theories, that also means that makes you a terrorist. So you're a terrorist, and even if the government did do it, you would have done the same thing in their position. We can scientifically prove it. My God, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of crosses the fucking threshold, doesn't it? Are the rest of you not boiling as mad as I am right now? Because this pushes the goddamn threshold of pretty much anything else I've ever read on this show in almost 4 years of doing it. This is in black and white. Let me drop this in the chat room for you. You'd do the same thing if you were in their shoes, but that doesn't matter anyway because that makes you a terrorist. Oh. And I understand that all these things are selective and they're selective enforcement and all that, but it's still scary, man. A second study refined these results. A group of 60 undergraduates participated in the same experiment, but half of them were first asked to spend a few minutes thinking of a time when they helped another person. Those who had been contemplating their own act of kindness were less likely to agree with the conspiracy theories, with the exception of those who scored high on the Machiavellian scale. We do not argue that projection alone explains why people believe in conspiracy theories, the researchers caution, but these findings point to a potent psychological mechanism that helps explain why some rumors refuse to die. The theme of the conspiratorially minded television series, The X-Files, was trust no one. Perhaps it should be amended to read, trust no one, especially devoted fans of The X-Files. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I've ever read a bigger piece of propaganda and horseshit as that. But my God, I mean, if you know, if this is giving them the ability to be able to try and turn the Machiavellian mindset, I mean, you guys have heard me reading Bramley. If you haven't read it and you didn't hear me read it, either go back and listen to the broadcast or go read the book and read the part where at the beginning where he's all about the Machiavellian mindset and how that was a complete creation of the custodians who then set up the elite, the bloodlines who are in charge making the laws now. And they're trying to turn that around on us. Now that we figured out that's what their agenda is, now they're trying to say people who believe there's a Machiavellian conspiracy are Machiavellian minded. Hello, Orwell, Party of One, your table's now ready. Now seating in the disinfo section. Come get it. My God. All right, what else do we have today? Other big news today. General Petraeus goes to the CIA and Leon Panetta goes to the Pentagon. The spooks are doing a big move around. This should be a big time indicator that we are heading into, well, more of the same. But I think this is a big move. I think this is, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the speculation game. It could be any manner of things. I would say minimum more war of some kind, maybe a space war. Maybe that's what's going on. Did you guys see that video that was over Kazakhstan or something of this comet or meteor or rocket or spaceship or something coming into the atmosphere? These little UFO things come in and start zapping it and like disintegrate it. It's nuts. But they're shifting they're shifting the spooks all around in the intelligence agency. This generally signals moving to a larger theater of war. That's generally, traditionally, historically, what that has always signaled and always represented. When you start seeing the high-level spookertons moving around like they are today with this is a big move, and it could, maybe this is what this is for. It says, it's from Press TV, U.S. at risk of war with China and Russia. The U.S. is at risk of a war with Russia and China, and its main objective behind engineering the Libyan war and Syrian unrest is to remove the two world powers out of the Mediterranean, a former U.S. official warns. Washington is all for invading against Libya and is putting more and more pressure to intervene in Syria because we want to clear China and Russia out of the Mediterranean. And guess who this is being said by? Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Secretary to the U.S. Treasury in Panama City. So here's the thing. So on the one hand, we have the fact that we have Leon Panetta and Spooky Spookerton from getting moved around and shifted from McChrystal getting moved around over to the CIA and over to the Pentagon. And in the middle of that, we have Paul Craig Roberts here on Press TV, fear-mongering, we're going to be at war with China and Russia. Now, I'm not going to argue with him. There's a lot of evidence that points in that direction. I think he'd be a fool to think so. To not think so. It definitely is a lot pointing in that direction. But you see how this all comes out right in the same week that Ron Paul launches his election campaign. And as Lee and I were talking about last night, it seems, as soon as the campaign, here comes all the CMP cronies out the sign hatch. They all got to have their photo op and their TV minute. You have to plug their shit. I mean, that's what these campaigns are for these guys. You guys understand that? It's not about winning a campaign or putting that's what the whole racket is. Running for president is a racket. And the whole racket that they're running is getting people to believe that somehow these candidates that they're voting for, like Ron Paul and giving all this money to, have any kind of a chance to win, and they do not. They're not put in there for that. They're put in there to grease the skids. And these guys are continuing to grease the skids by believing this pipe dream. They very well may switch and flip the script this time. They may, who knows, man? The stranger things have happened. They may let Ron Paul win, and they may just unleash a hellstorm on us. We just don't know yet. But again, as stuff ramps up, as I said, so does the fear mongering, so does the disinfo. The CMP snakes start crawling out of the sign hatch. It's just, and if that's not enough for you, oh my God. Pope John Paul's blood to go on display at the Vatican. Blood will be available for veneration at John Paul II's beatification after being taken from Pontiff as he lay dying. A vial filled with the blood of the late Pope John Paul II will go on display at his beatification on Sunday after becoming available for veneration by the faithful. The Vatican said that the blood, which had been stored in a Rome hospital, had been kept in a liquid state by an anticoagulant that was added with it when it was taken from him. The Polish pontiff is said to be beatified at a service celebrated by his successor. More than 50 heads of state and several 100,000 pilgrims are expected in Rome for the occasion. Yeah, something might pop off here. That many people in town. There might be something going down with this. And having his blood on hand, that would just be symbolic, wouldn't it? What's so special about his blood? They're going in and worshiping his blood. I thought you weren't supposed to deify, these humans. And if you guys haven't figured out what's going on with these Catholics and what a sick fucking priest class extraterrestrial creation of this and what a bastardization of them, these guys are pure evil. They talk about devil and the Satan and and the dark one and all this shit. They are devil and the Satan and Lucifer and the dark one. They're everything dark. Everything dark and disturbing and sick that happens on this planet comes from these Catholic motherfuckers. You understand that? I don't know how to get it to your thick fucking heads anymore. These guys go around calling everybody else sick and twisted and disgusted. Well, they're the ones that are sick and twisted and disgusted. And oh man, it's just ridiculous. Listen to this. It says that the remaining two vials stayed in the hospital where they were devoutly safeguarded by the nuns who worked there as nurses. Both had been put into reliquaries, ornate relic containers that are usually made with precious metals and stones. So they basically, oh my God, precious metals and stones. So they made like a ephod thing out of it, like they did with the skull of John the Baptist. They've got the skull of John the Baptist with an ephod around it, which is a stone that has 13 stones around it. It's a communication device. The 13 stones represent the 13 tribes of Israel and the 13 different extraterrestrial races. It's a spirit world communication device. They have in the Vatican John the Baptist's head with this thing around it. So you're telling me around these vials, they basically put precious metals and stones around it? They're using this for energy for something, either to gain energy from, pull energy from. That's what they're doing. They put stones and crystals around it, and his essence, his energy, they're going and taking out of the blood. Because obviously he was one of these bloodlines. You don't get beatified unless you're one of the bloodlines, folks. Come on. That's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable admission. They would just admit that they made an ornate relic to hold the blood made with precious metals and stones. And most people, that just go over most people's heads. They wouldn't even know why that's important. I mean, this is dark occult ritual stuff we're talking about here, done in the broad daylight, done under the guise of Christianity and Catholicism and everything else. Sick. One of the reliquaries was to be returned to the hospital. The other would be exhibited on Sunday and then be kept with the other relics in the Vatican. Beatification is the final stage before canonization, though not all those who are beatified and are thereafter styled blessed are raised to sainthood. Pope John Paul II is to be beatified barely 6 years after his death. He was fast-tracked after the Vatican accepted he was responsible for the miraculous cure of a French nun. One miracle is sufficient for beatification. Two are required for canonization. Unbelievable stuff. We're going to take a break, come back, and I think we just got a few more news stories to finish up with tonight. Then we're going to continue on the reading from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden and the Count of St. Germain tonight. So stay with us. Back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us tonight here for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we're going to be getting into some more news here for you. And then we're going to be reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden tonight, the Count of St. Germain. Thanks for staying up late with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. If you're listening later on a rebroadcast or listening to an archive, thank you for tuning in and finding the show as well. You can also find the day's archives. One of our listeners, Eliminated Scam, has a YouTube channel that he puts up the daily archives on as well. So it's a great way you can go and find those. And then you can spread this around on social networking sites. And it's a good way to get the shows in the hands of people quickly that maybe, are too lazy to go and fucking download a show from a website. And unfortunately, that's the case. But, you put it in somebody's hands and you make it easy for them and you don't give them a way to wiggle out of listening to it by having it in a, in a YouTube video. Then you can get somebody maybe to pay attention to some information they may have, that they may not have heard before. So there you go. And again, our fundraising week is this week. So please help us reach the goal and chip and banner by the week so we can pay the bills for the month. And also at the website, theglobalreality.com, where said chip and banner is, there's also the donate button. We got a new one up there. Hopefully it's been working better. I hadn't got any more reports that people were having problems, so I don't know. But I was getting reports a few days ago. There was problems with some of our donate stuff. So we've changed those out. Hopefully it'll be we work. But if you ever had any problems, if you do try to donate at any point and it doesn't go through or it doesn't work, will you please just send me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email. Let me know. Because what I'm wondering is, is this happening to people who aren't chat room regulars? You know what I'm saying? It very, very well could be happening to people and I'm not knowing about it. So, if you've had any problems with the chip and banner, the donate button, if you've tried to donate and it wouldn't work, but, you weren't able to get me that information, I would like to know that information. So please send me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and just say, hey, I tried to donate, it didn't work or anything. Because I was thinking about that. I was thinking, man, a couple of people had problems with people that I know, and I was like, well, if it's people that I know, because it was just, people I've known for a long time and regular listeners and supporters and stuff, and it was them that was having problems. So I was thinking, well, it could be that there was people out there that I don't know about that have had issues with it. So just shoot me an email. Let me know if you have. Let's get back into our news here tonight. Archaeologists recover massive statue of one of ancient Egypt's most powerful pharaohs. See, wouldn't this be something? Hawass gets put on lockdown, and then all of a sudden we start seeing new archaeological discoveries and new antiquities popping up in Egypt. Wouldn't that be something? Him out of the picture, and all of a sudden, stuff they've been keeping from us for years starts to appear. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me in the least bit if that's what the whole stage revolution was about. Archaeologists unearthed one of the largest statues ever found to date of a powerful ancient Egyptian pharaoh at his mortuary temple in the southern city of Luxor. The country's Antiquities Authority announced on Tuesday. The 42-foot tall statue of Amenhotep III was one of a pair that flanked the northern entrance to a grand funerary temple on the west bank of the Nile that is currently the focus of a major excavation. The statue consists of 7 large quartized blocks and still lacks a head, and was actually first discovered in the 1928. In the 1928? Why would you say that? Bad English. You know, speak of English. Oh, booger, I think I got a thrush. What the fuck is a thrush? First discovered in the 1928, dog. And then rehidden, according to the press release from the country's Antiquities Authority. Archaeologists expect to find its twin in the next digging season. Excavation supervisor Abdel Ghafir Wagdi said the two other statues were also unearthed, one of the god Thoth with a baboon's head and a 6-foot tall one of the lion-headed goddess Sekhmet. Archaeologists working on the temple over the past few years have issued a flood of announcements about new discoveries of statues. The 3,400-year-old temple is one of the largest of the West Bank of the Nile in Luxor, where the powerful pharaohs of Egypt's new kingdom built their tombs. Amenhotep III, who was the grandfather of the famed boy pharaoh Tutankhamun, ruled in the 14th century BC at the height of Egypt's new kingdom and presided over a vast empire stretching from Nubia in the south to Syria in the north. The pharaoh's temple was largely destroyed, possibly by floods, and little remains of its walls. I love how they say that. The pharaoh's temple was largely destroyed, possibly by floods. Well, it was destroyed by floods. That would have to mean that it was there. That pushes back the dates of when they told us these things were built. I would say number one. Number two, I love how they say possibly by floods. That means they don't know for sure. Could have been extraterrestrial invasion for all we know, right? It was also devastated by an earthquake in 27 BC, but archaeologists have been able to unearth a wealth of artifacts and statuary in the buried ruins. One of two statues of Amenhotep made of black granite found at the site in March of 2009. So interesting stuff there. Let's see what else we have. Lots of science stuff. You know, because I mean, as our knowledge is exponentiating, and as our understanding and our consciousness is exponentiating, things are, you know, coming out now with it scientifically. I think they're going to try and do Jurassic Park after all. I think we're going to see Jurassic Park before the end of, before it's all said and done. I think we're going to see it in our lifetime. I'm all for it, man. Bring it on. Fuck it. I'm down with it. You know. As long as you keep some boys in there with some napalm, it'll be all right. By inserting a 43,000-year-old woolly mammoth gene into Escherichia coli bacteria, scientists have figured out how these ancient beasts adapted to the sub-zero temperatures of prehistoric Siberia and North America. The gene, which codes for the oxygen-transporting protein hemoglobin, allowed the animals to keep their tissues supplied with oxygen even at very low temperatures. It's no different from going back to 40,000 years and taking a blood sample from a living mammoth, says Kevin Campbell, a biologist at the University of Manitoba in Canada. Campbell's team obtained DNA from mammoth bone preserved in the Siberian permafrost. It was a long journey for Campbell, whose specialty is the physiology of mammals. A decade ago, he saw a Discovery Channel program on the recovery of a mammoth specimen encased in ice and wondered if such specimens might hold clues to the physiology of the mammoth. Campbell worked with DNA expert Alan Cooper of the University of Adelaide in Australia to isolate the mammoth gene responsible for hemoglobin. Then he and colleagues plugged in the gene into E. coli. The goal, says Campbell, was to make the bacteria produce mammoth hemoglobin in the lab. A similar process is used to synthesize human proteins like insulin. Although they were created in a bacterium, he says, the hemoglobin proteins are identical to what mammoth cells would have produced. Once the researchers had their mammoth hemoglobin, they compared it with that from Asian and African elephants, and the elephant hemoglobin functioned much like human hemoglobin, delivering oxygen more efficiently at warmer temperatures. That helps the hemoglobin transport oxygen from its hardest working muscles. Yeah, they want to figure out how they can, they want to make sure when they resurrect one of these things, it can stay alive in any climate, That's really what they're doing this for. And it goes on and on and on and talk about a bunch of useless information, but I mean, what other reason would they be doing this for? They got to make sure these things can survive in zoos and no matter what climate they're in, right? That's what they've got to do this for. They're not fooling anybody. Close Encounters of the Third Reich. New movie Iron Sky. Wasn't that a video game? Iron Sky. I wouldn't say Iron Sky was a video game. I think this is an adaptation from a video game about Nazi UFOs. I believe it was. Could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. New movie Iron Sky, due out next year, tells the story of Nazis escaping to the moon to regroup for a new attempt at world domination. But after trawling through top secret Nazi archives, the Sun can reveal the truth about Hitler's UFOs is far more chilling. One alleged site of production of the Nazi UFOs is a series of tunnels buried underneath the Jonas Valley in Thuringia, central Germany. Yeah. Peenemünde. I mean, the blueprints have been out on this for years. I mean, yeah, Hitler had UFOs. Fucking BMW built the engines, for God's sakes. They admit to that. BMW saw us the blueprints of them. They built the engines. Here, under the command of SS General Hans Kammler, legions of slave laborers worked to bring the Führer's fantasies into existence. The respected German science magazine PM has reported how advanced the program was as scientists toiled in secret factories to produce the wonder weapon to win the war. The magazine quotes eyewitnesses who saw a flying saucer marked with a German Iron Cross flying low over the Times in 1944. America also treated the existence of weapons seriously, it said. The U.S. believed that Germany could use it to drop weapons on New York, the target the Führer obsessed on as the war progressed. At the time, the New York Times reported on a mysterious flying disc with the photos of the device seen traveling at extremely high speeds over the city's high-rise buildings. Apparently, that machine was capable on its maiden flight of traveling 2,000 kilometers. The Germans had destroyed much of the paperwork of their activities, but there are numerous hints that it did indeed exist. This is the latest revelation about odd UFO activity. 2 weeks ago, we told how 8,000 cows were snatched by mystery aircraft, then dropped from the skies in the U.S. The Nazi UFO project was driven by engineers Rudolf Schreiber and Otto Hammerball and was based in Prague between 1941 and 1943. Initially a Luftwaffe project, it eventually fell under the control of Armaments Minister Albert Speer before being taken over again in 1944 by Kammler. Eyewitness captured by Allies after the war claimed to have seen the saucer fly on several occasions. Joseph Andreas Epp, an engineer who served as a consultant to the Schreiber-Hammerball project, claimed 15 prototypes were built. He described how a central cockpit surrounded by rotating adjustable wing vanes formed a circle. The vanes were held together by a band at the outer edge and were set in rotation by small rockets placed around the rim. Once rotational speed was sufficient and liftoff was achieved, horizontal jets and rockets were ignited. A German official recorded that the Prague-Gebel Aerodrome in September 1943 that he saw inside a hangar, a disc 5 to 6 meters in diameter. Its body is relatively large at the center. Underneath it, it had 4 tall, thin legs. Height almost as tall as a man. Thickness some 30 to 40 centimeters. Along with my friends, I saw the device emerge from the hangar. It was then we heard the roar of the engines. We saw the external side of the disc began to rotate, and the vehicle began to move slowly and in a straight line toward the southern end of the field. It then rose almost 1 meter into the air. After moving some 300 meters in that altitude, it stopped again. Its landing was rather rough, and later the thing took off again, managing to reach the end of the aerodrome this time. This theory is further fueled by Igor Witowski, a Polish journalist and historian of military and aerospace technology. In his 2000 book, Prawda o Wunderwaffe, he claims Hitler wanted his top scientists at his disposal to work on bell-shaped aircraft. So impressive was Nazi technology found at the end of World War II, V-2 rocket scientists were hunted down by the U.S. and Soviets and hired for their own missile and space programs. More than 120 rocket scientists, including Werner von Braun, who became a central figure at NASA, went to the U.S.-German engineer George Klein and claimed 2 types of flying discs had been created by the Nazis. A non-rotating disc developed by V-2 engineer Richard Mathey was captured by the Russians. The Schreiber and Hammerball model, Klein claimed that he saw this craft's first manned flight in February 1945 when it climbed to 40,700 feet and reached 1,400 miles an hour. My goodness. Klein, who went on to have a distinguished post-war career as an aeronautical engineer, said, "I don't consider myself a crackpot or eccentric or someone that often is given to fantasies. This is one I saw with my own eyes, a Nazi UFO." British and American bomber crews also reported strange sightings over enemy territory. And, yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It says that conspiracy theorists believe that Americans found 2 things in the tunnels: a nuclear bomb and the flying saucers meant to deliver it. Martin State, author of the book on the area, claims that 174 flying saucers were developed at the site. He continues to search the tunnels illegally and hasn't found them yet. Why else would Americans take away everything that they found and place the results under a 100-year secrecy order? That's true. That's very true. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of speculation on where he got the information from. A lot of people believe that he found some of this hidden sacred knowledge that went back to ancient Mesopotamia. It very, very well could be, and that as he was initially funded to be and very much was a successful tool for the power structure, he started to get a little bit too big for his britches and became a threat to the power structure itself. He threatened to unleash power and technology and things that it would have made him, when he said he was going to be the Fuhrer, he meant he was going to be the Fuhrer, and that was going to be the tip top of the pyramid. There wasn't going to be anybody above him. You know what I mean? He meant that he was going to be the boss of everything, the boss of the bosses. The bosses above him that put him in power were going to be subservient to him after he unleashed the technology and the things that he had been doing. That's why they ultimately pulled the plug on him. Same thing with Saddam Hussein. No question, the same thing with Saddam Hussein, absolutely. Let's see what else we got here tonight. While we're on the subject of that, makes you wonder here. I mean, I think it's absolutely, positively the reason why this next story is transpired the way it has. SETI Institute to shut down alien-seeking radio dishes. Yeah, because, number one, they probably wouldn't be able to pick up our signals. They probably wouldn't be picking up anything that antiquated. Number two, we already know there are aliens out there. Give me a fucking break.
Suck Satan's cock.
I mean, come on. Lacking the money to pay its operating expenses, Mountain View's SETI Institute has pulled the plug on the renowned Alien Telescope Array, a field of radio dishes that can scan the skies for signals from extraterrestrial civilizations. In an April 22nd letter to donors, SETI Institute CEO Tom Pearson said that the last week the array was put into hibernation, safe, but non-functioning because of inadequate government support. I think they've been, who knows what they've been beaming out there for years. There's food down here. Come get it. They're dumb. Large violent tornadoes devastated the South on Wednesday, killing dozens of people. Tornadoes remain a threat for the mid-Atlantic to southern Alabama. The tornadoes and severe thunderstorms have killed at least 72 people across the South on Wednesday. According to the Associated Press, and the death toll will continue to rise. I mean, again, as I said last week, I think we're in the heart of weather war. I think weather warfare is going on right now. I think it's being executed, and I think we're in the middle of a weather war right now. Honestly, I really do. Never seen anything like this. It could be that, or it could be that this is a result of things that our planet's going through. I don't know. Either one's plausible. I've said that again before. I'll say it again. Either one of those ideas is plausible. I'm kind of on the fence of which one I think is absolutely the case. But hell, it could be both for all we know, right? Out of those deaths, at least 58 occurred in Alabama alone. 9 deaths have been confirmed in Georgia, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And it goes on to say that trying to see where it had this number. There was something like, oh man, where did it go? I don't know. There was 180 something that was in one weekend. I don't know how many have been there. I guess another 85 tornadoes in one night or something. It's just out of control. So catastrophic changes happening to our planet because of the sun and because of we're moving closer to galactic alignment. I mean, I got to honestly say I'm leaning more towards that as my explanation. But I can't discount the weather warfare information either, and I can't discount the possibility that this is the new covert war that's being waged, and this is why, taxes increase, gas prices are going through. We're in the middle of a secret war, a war that's not officially proclaimed and announced to the public because the implications of the technology that is being used would raise questions as to the origins of that technology in relation to our current believed technological status. So the evidence for me just really points in the direction to being unignorable that there's a weather warfare going on. But I do also know that our planet is also going through natural catastrophic changes because of galactic alignment, because it's being pulled, because of what the sun is doing, solar minimums, solar maximums we're moving into, sunspot cycles, all these factors happening at once. So again, I just want to make it crystal clear that I think if you believe that it's weather warfare, you're fine. That, fine. No problem. If that's what you believe, great. If you believe it's not weather warfare and you believe it's, because of galactic alignment and solar issues and all the rest of this stuff, hey, fine. I'll support you there too. Either one of those. Both very plausible. Let's see what else we have here tonight before we get back into reading from Bramley here. Church of Scientology buys landmark Hollywood production studio. The Church of Scientology has bought a landmark Hollywood production studio as it seeks to increase its global reach through television and the internet. Here we go. As I told you 2 years ago, Scientology now lining up to be the one world religion. When they unleash the aliens, folks, what do you think all these religious nuts who are going to need a religion to run to are going to run to? They're going to run kicking and screaming to Scientology by design. Watch. You want to bet? Watch. How do I know? Because the fact that Freighter H, L. Ron Hubbard, along with Jack Parsons, who created the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, were initiates. Jack Parsons was one of the greatest magicians that ever lived. He pulled the Babylon working ritual off. Tore a fabric in space-time and brought an entity through it and everything. And the fact that they studied, and they were the understudies of Crowley, and knowing the origins of the stuff that Crowley was into, and his creation of Thelema and all of his work, all of the stuff that Crowley was drawing from was the same stuff that John Dee before him was drawing from, and all that stuff goes back to the Babylonian mystery religions, prior to even people like Pythagoras and the Freemasons or anything else. And so when you see that that's where the origins of Scientology come in, and you see how this is all connected into the power structure and all connected back to the priest class and the secret societies, that's when I at least started understanding, this is why they've been pushing Scientology to the forefront. This is why they've been using, movie stars and celebrities to push it. It's going to be the one world religion after they roll out this alien disclosure stuff. The 300,000 square foot lot on Sunset Boulevard is currently home to KCET, the largest independent public television station in the United States. Yeah. So they're moving out the public television station and putting in Scientology instead because they're getting rid of independent public TV across the board. Local access TVs disappearing all over the country. The studio contains 2 sound stages and state-of-the-art post-production satellite and internet broadcasting facilities. The undisclosed asking price ran into millions of dollars and has been valued at $14 million. The organization, founded in 1953 by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard, counts Hollywood stars Tom Cruise and John Travolta among its followers. Fags.
Suck Satan's cock, Tom. You too, John. You haven't had a big dose of my Satan gravy in a long time. Suck Satan's cock.
It already has production facilities and numerous sound stages on a 500-acre site outside of Los Angeles. Good for them. And launch their propaganda machine into the world a little bit more. All right, let's take a break. Come back, and we'll get into reading more from the Count of St. Germain out of William Bramley's The Gods of Eden for you here tonight. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com if you got a late night comment or you got anything, anything you want to ask me. that you'd like to hear me talk about here tonight before I get back into the book, love to hear from you. Global Reality Show at gmail.com. That's Global Reality Show at gmail.com. We'll be back with you here in just a few minutes. This is the Global Reality right back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for staying up late with us. Oh, yeah, we're getting moonbatty now. We're up late. Continuing on. I don't know if anybody else would be crazy enough to do radio this late early in the morning, but I am. And I'm glad you're crazy enough to stay up with me. So thanks for being here. And we're going to continue on tonight with a broadcast. Yeah, we're going to continue reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden for you here tonight. And it's getting into the Count of St. Germain. And I'm going to pick up where we left off last time, just so we have some context of what we're talking about. Back up just a little bit and kind of read it. I do that sometimes. You'll notice sometimes you might go, why is he reading this again? It's because I back up a little bit sometimes. And that way we kind of have a context for where we left off last time. So we'll be continuing on with that tonight. Again, Chip-In Banner's there. We're going to meet our goal for the month. So please donate there at the Chip-In Banner so we can meet that to pay the bills for the month. Also, the donate button is there if you want to use that for larger amounts. If you want to use that to help us grow and buy better equipment and to be able to do bigger and better productions and everything else, that's how you do that. We also have a recurring subscription thing where you can have a recurring donation that comes out every month, so you can make a pledge. There's a drop-down menu. You can pick one there, and that way you don't have to come back and donate every month. It just comes out as a regular thing right automatically out of your bank account, and you can cancel that at any time. So there you go. Also, my other documentary films, 9/11 New World Rising and Secret Right Volume 1, are also for sale under the documentary tab as well. It's kind of an odd way of getting to those. Occasionally I need to point this out because sometimes I don't know if people realize that they can get those films and how to get them. If you want to get the ones I offer on DVD already, which is 9/11 New World Rising, Final Director's Cut, and Secret Right Volume 1, what you do is you go into the documentary tab under the website, right? And you click on either 9/11 New World Rising or Secret Right Volume 1, and then you scroll down below that, and below the video where it's embedded, there's the Buy Now button. So that's how you do that. I've had a couple of emails, not a lot, but a couple of emails where people have said, where do you buy the hard copies at? That's where you do that. And I don't push them all the time because I don't ever do that. I don't ever get up here and buy songs, buy my movie songs, buy my DVDs. And you can if you want. There if you want. It's the same way it's going to be with a new movie. The DVDs are kind of more of a special thing for the people who helped, who helped fund the thing and donated and stuff. And it'll be cool. I'm sure other people will buy some too, and those will be out there. But it's just one of those things where, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because I don't like to put everything I come out with right on the web immediately. I like to put little pieces and stuff because then you don't sell any DVDs, and that defeats the purpose because then it's not getting out there to as many people if it's just staying on the web. And not everybody uses the web. So it's important that we do get out, hard copies of movies so that people who aren't always, not everybody's web or tech savvy, believe it or not. Not everybody there's lots of people, man. I meet lots of people that don't mess with the computers, don't get on the internet, don't know how to go watch a movie or look anything up. And those are the type of people that need, they need hard copies in their hands. Otherwise, not going to get any more, you're not going to get information into their hands. So there you go. You can support our work that way as well. I've got an email here from John in Louisiana. John says, speaking of Scientology and Bramley, I was wondering if you ever heard of Bramley being one himself. It was weird. I was listening to the Bramley interview, and he plugged the Jesus Goes to Hollywood book. So I searched for it and stumbled on a few websites stating this. There is also a review of something a guy named Jim Keith did on the Gods of Eden book. Yeah, I know who Jim Keith is. I don't know who Jim Keith is or is he reliable. Anyway, just seeing if you heard of this, Google William Bramley Scientology. So you're saying that that Jim Keith had exposed some stuff on the Gods of Eden book? Wow, I'll have to look into that. I was not aware of that. Jim Keith essentially was murdered during surgery. He died. They said he died during surgery, but he told his family before he went to surgery, he said, "I'm going to die in this surgery. They're going to kill me." He exposed a lot of stuff, and he's one of those guys that you haven't heard of him, but you've heard his research, because a lot of the research and stuff that he came out with has been summarily and subsequently ripped off by a lot of sources. So I haven't heard anything of Bramley being a Scientologist. I don't really know. I did ask him if he was, I mean, I don't know. I asked him if he'd been approached by the Freemasons. He said he hadn't been approached by any secretive group, so I don't know. I seem to take his word for it, and he seemed to be honest in his answer. But, you know, I think if he is a Scientologist, it won't change my opinion on the importance of the information in the Gods of Eden. It might change my opinion about the person, the presenter, you know. But you shouldn't allow that. That's the whole thing is that, you know, this is the problem I see with that people always try to do when they, you know, it's good to expose people. It's good to expose frauds. It's good to expose plants and agitators and people like that are involved in the power structure and working to benefit the power structure, like Alex Jones with the CMP Times and stuff. It's good to expose that, but sometimes people get into this thing where they grasp at straws and they sort of, they try to shoot the messenger, you know. That's all people try to do to me. No, they don't come with contrary information about the stuff that I've revealed about the CMP or any of the stuff that the research I've done through the years. But it's always some personal attack on me or some just made up garbage, you know. And you know, I've even gone to bat for stuff that's been said about Alex Jones that's not true. You know, all this stuff, these guys that just sit around and call him a Zionist all day, but they never point out the connections to the Jesuit order and to the John Birch Society and the more connections he has to Rome and the Jesuit 7 Ways to Sunday. They never point that out. Or the whole thing about he's owned by ABC because, you know, GCN rents the Starguide satellites. I mean, that's just shit. It's crap. And it makes the real information and the real ammo against this guy be discredited along with it because it's obvious horseshit. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. I wouldn't. I would say that if it was confirmed that William Brownlee was a Scientologist, it wouldn't change my opinion in the work that he did in that book. But you know, because people try to do that. Oh, so and so's discredited. Their all their work should be discredited, even though it's great research. All that should be discredited because they, you know, they're a member of some group or whatever have you. A lot of these guys in the CMP have done great work. A lot of them have. But it's uncovering the greater agenda and the things that they leave out, not the things that they talk about, the things that they leave out. That's the things that you have to focus on with these guys. It's not what they talk about, it's what they don't talk about. But they turn that around and use the reverse psychology lawyer trick and try to say, well, you know, are you trying to say that the New World Order isn't real or blah, blah, blah? Are you trying to say that the bankers are blah, blah, blah? You know, this, that, and the other. They try to turn around and you know, we're not saying that at all. It's not what you're saying. It's what you're not saying. So thank you, John. I'll try to look into that connection between Keith and exposing Bramley for you, and I'll present that to you on a later broadcast. All right, speaking of Bramley, let's get back into the book here. The account of Saint Germain. Saint Germain was clearly a flamboyant and multifaceted character. One of the talents for which he achieved fame was his considerable knowledge of alchemy. Alchemy mixes mysticism with chemistry and was a staple of Rosicrucian practice. Saint Germain became a topic of gossip in the French court because he claimed to possess the alchemical elixir of life. The elixir was said to be a secret formula which made people physically immortal. This was the same elixir many European Rosicrucians claimed to possess. Saint Germain may have had tongue slightly in cheek when he made the claim. However, he is quoted as saying to King Louis, "Sire, I sometimes amuse myself." King Louis XV, "Sire, I sometimes amuse myself by not making it believed, but allowing it to be believed, that I have lived in ancient times." In 1760, Saint Germain left France for The Hague in Holland. The trip was made during the height of the 7 Years' War. Holland was a neutral country during that conflict. Exactly what Saint Germain was trying to accomplish in Holland remains debated even today. After declaring himself to be a secret agent of King Louis XV, Saint Germain tried to gain an audience with the English representative at The Hague. Saint Germain claimed that he was there to negotiate a peace between England and France. However, the French foreign minister, the Duke of Choiseul, was the French ambassador to Holland. Count d'Affry had not been notified by their king about Saint Germain's purported mission. The Duke of Choiseul therefore branded Saint Germain a charlatan and ordered his arrest. To avoid imprisonment by Dutch authorities, Saint Germain fled to London in the same year. Saint Germain's escape was aided by his influential friend Count Bettenich, the president of the Dutch Council of Deputy Commissioners. As a result of this debacle and the unwillingness of Louis XV to publicly acknowledge Saint Germain as his agent, Saint Germain was unable to openly return to French royal society until 1770, the year in which his enemy, the Duke of Choiseul, was disgraced and removed from power. Saint Germain had a second and perhaps even more compelling reason for making that ill-fated trip to Holland. A letter written on March 25, 1760 by Prince de Galtzlen, Russian minister to England, offered the insight into Saint Germain's aborted activities in Holland. I know the Count de Saint Germain well by reputation. This singular man has been staying for some time in this country, and I do not know whether he likes it. There is someone here with whom he appears to be in correspondence, and this person declares that the object of the Count's journey to Holland is merely some financial business. Right, that's he was there because the royal banking families that later spawned Queen Beatrix and that whole bloodline were funding Saint Germain. That's a fact. Same way that Manly P. Hall was being funded. Manly P. Hall was being funded by, because he wrote The Secret Teachings of All Ages at like 22, 23, something like that, some very early age. And never, and in all his years, I mean, I don't know how you get something that right in your first try. Well, apparently the story is that there was this anonymous wealthy woman, an oil baroness, who was funding Manly P. Hall, and she told him, you'll never have to worry about money. However much money you ever need, you just tell me, you'll have a blank check, and you just, go around the world and find these secret teachings and put them out there. So we've seen this throughout history. That's what I need. I need somebody to give me a limitless bank account so I can just go find information. I'd have fucking County of Rockwall dug up by next week. Oh, it'd be a disaster. Me with that kind of unlimited capital would be dangerous. And have the whole goddamn town uprooted and the portal open by next week. The financial business mentioned by de Galtzlen was very secretive. It appeared to be the true purpose of Saint Germain's visit. Saint Germain was in Holland to exploit the marriage of a Princess Caroline to the German Prince Nassau-Dillenburg for the purposes of establishing a fund for France. Saint Germain wanted to negotiate the formation of the fund with Dutch bankers, according to French ambassador to Afrique. His objective in general was to secure the credit of the principal bankers there for us. In another letter, de Afrique stated that Saint Germain had come to Holland solely to complete the formation of a company adequate to the responsibility of this fund. The formation of the fund was probably the true reason for Saint Germain and perhaps King Louis's extreme secrecy. France had already had important financiers to the royal court, the wealthy Paris Duvernay brothers. The Paris brothers had salvaged France's financial standings after the disastrous Bank of France episode involving the inflated money of John Law. Saint Germain was quite hostile to the Paris brothers, and he did not want them to gain control of the fund. Saint Germain is quoted by Monsieur de Coterbrock, a minister of the Saxon court in The Hague, quote, King Louis of France is surrounded only by creatures placed by the brothers Paris, who alone cause all the troubles of France. It is they who corrupt everything and thwart the plans of the best citizen in France. The Marchand de Belle Isle, hence the disunion and jealousy among the ministers. All is corrupted by the brothers Paris. Perish France, provided they may attain their object of gaining 800 millions. Saint Germain may well have had legitimate grounds for objecting to the undue influence of the Paris brothers. Saint Germain's mission in The Hague, however, was only an attempt to covertly wrest financial control from the Paris brothers and put it back in the hands of the same clique of financiers whose predecessors had institutionalized the inflatable paper money system to begin with. The very system which had brought financial ruin to France and the consequent intervention of the Paris brothers. Because of Saint Germain's sudden forced departure from Holland, he was never able to complete his financial mission. Upon arriving in London after fleeing Holland, Saint Germain was once again arrested and released. During this short stay in England, Saint Germain published 7 violin solos. Saint Germain continued his covert political activities after leaving London. In 1760, he returned secretly to Paris. There, it is believed that he stayed with his friend, the Princess of Anhalt-Zerbst. Anhalt-Zerbst was another German state which rented mercenaries to England, although it never accumulated the same wealth as some of its German neighbors. The Prince of Anhalt-Zerbst had a daughter, Catherine II. On August 21st, 1744, Catherine II had married Peter III of Russia. This marriage had been arranged by Frederick the Great of Prussia, who was a friend of the Anhalt-Zerbst family and, at least for a time, of Saint Germain. In 1762, 2 years after Saint Germain's quiet return to Paris, Peter III assumed the Russian throne. Saint Germain traveled immediately to the Russian capital of St. Petersburg, where he helped Catherine overthrow Peter and establish her as the Empress of Russia. Assisting in the coup d'etat was the Russian Orlov family. The Orlovs are believed to have murdered Peter by strangling him in a phony brawl. For his assistance in the coup, Saint Germain was made a general of the Russian army, and he remained a close friend of the Orlov family for many years. Catherine, who later became known as Catherine the Great, went on to rule Russia for 29 years. With this bold coup, Saint Germain had helped put Russia under the rule of the same small clique of German royal families under which other European countries had fallen. The same modus operandi was used: the marriage of a royal German into the victim dynasty, followed by a revolution or coup. Here we find evidence of the direct brotherhood involvement in the person of Saint Germain. What Saint Germain did between 1763 and 1769 after leaving Russia is a mystery. He is known to have spent approximately 1 year in Berlin and was a short-term guest of Frederick August of Brunswick. From Brunswick, Saint Germain continued his travels around Europe. He returned to France in 1770. In 1772, Saint Germain again acted as an agent for Louis XV, this time during negotiations in Vienna over the partition of Poland. Unfortunately for Saint Germain, Louis XV died on May 10, 1774, and Louis's 19-year-old grandson, Louis XVI, took the throne. The new king brought Choiseul back to power and took a personal dislike to Saint Germain. The count was forced to leave French society for the last time. Saint Germain was immediately departed for Germany, where only 11 days after the death of Louis XV, he was a guest of William VI of Hesse, the prince who was to inherit the vast Hesse castle fortune, according to J.J. Morgenstern, writing in his book of travels. After his visit to the home of the Hessian prince, Saint Germain traveled about Europe some more. He was welcomed as a guest of the Margrave in Brandenburg and by others. Finally, in 1779, Saint Germain was taken by Prince Karl of Hesse, who was a top leader of the strict observance. Saint Germain spent the last 5 years of his known life with Karl. In 1784, Saint Germain reportedly died. The church register of Eckernford contained the entry, deceased on February 27th, buried on March the 2nd, 1784, the so-called Comte de Saint Germain in Weldon. Further information not known, privately deposited in this church. It was after his reported death that Saint Germain's true status within the Brotherhood emerged. Not only was Saint Germain portrayed as one of the highest representatives of the Brotherhood, he was also deified as a physically immortal being who did not age or die. A number of his contemporary admirers claimed that they saw Saint Germain at times when it should have been impossible for them to do so because of Saint Germain's age. For example, Baron E.H. Gleichen, writing in his memoirs published in 1868, I should have known there was something to that goddamn Highlander shit. I always knew, all my years of researching and watching sci-fi and all this shit, I was like, Highlander was always one of my favorites. It was always the one where I was like, it's the only one where I hadn't seen if it's, evidence that may be true or not. God damn it. I should have fucking known. We're being ruled over by goddamn immortals, aren't we? Well, you know what? You know how to kill them, boys. You take their heads, they're yours. There can be only one. We had goddamn immortals running around. It wouldn't surprise me. Goddamn Highlander up in here. I have heard Rameau and an old relative of a French ambassador at Venice testifying to having known Saint Germain in 1710 when he had the appearance of a man of 50 years of age. If Saint Germain was 50 years old in 1710, then he would have been 124 years old when he reportedly died. There are, however, those who claim that Saint Germain did not die in 1784. A German mystical magazine published in 1857 stated that Saint Germain was one of the French representatives to the 1785 Masonic Convention of Paris, 1 year after his reported death. Unbelievable. Another writer, Cantu Cesare, in his work Gili Erecte d'Italia, stated that Saint Germain was present at the famous Wilmsbad Masonic Conference, which was also held in 1785. These reports are viewed by some people as evidence that Saint Germain's death had been staged, perhaps for the second time in his life to enable him to escape the controversy which surrounded him so that he could live out the rest of his life in relative quiet. Saint Germain's alleged appearances after death did not end in 1785. However, Countess de Aldemar, a member of the French court who wrote her memoirs shortly before her death in 1822, alleged seeing Saint Germain many times after his reported death, usually during times of upheaval. She claimed that Saint Germain had sent warnings to the King and Queen of France, his enemy, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, just prior to the outbreak of the French Revolution before it occurred in 1789. She also claimed that she saw him in 1793, 1804, 1813, and as late as 1820. Rosicrucian writer Franz Gaffer stated that Saint Germain had made appearances in Austria after his reported death and was honored there as an advanced adept of the Brotherhood. Oh, my, this is unbelievable. Is this just news to me and not anybody else? I didn't know all this about Saint Germain. Saint Germain's, we got fucking immortals running around. Straight the fuck up. It's Highlander up in here, isn't it? God damn, man. I should have fucking known. I should have fucking known. Unbelievable. So every time there's upheaval going on, this guy just conveniently shows up. We got immortals running around every time there's upheaval going around starting shit and just perpetuating this. I should have fucking known. Because I always wondered how they were able to keep the power structure in place, passing it down year by year, and not have somebody eventually come along in the chain that would want to change things. Well, that explains it. The reason things haven't changed and it's just been a slow perpetuation of the planet is because the guys at the top are immortal. I should have fucking known. My God. And he just happens to be seen at all these Rosicrucian and Brotherhood shit. I mean, now listen to this. In the late 1800s, Madame Helena Blavatsky, one of the co-founders of the Theosophical Society, declared that Saint Germain was one of the hidden masters of Tibet who secretly controlled the destiny of the world. In 1919, a man claiming to be Saint Germain appeared in Hungary at a time when a successful communist-led revolution was underway in the country. Finally, in 1930, a man named Guy Ballard claimed that he met Saint Germain on Mount Shasta in California. It's a hot spot for UFOs, inner Earth portals, all kinds of shit. Mount Shasta, my God. And that Saint Germain had helped him establish a new Brotherhood branch known as the I Am. We will look at the I Am later. Another Brotherhood branch known as the I Am. Well, that's unbelievable. Maybe that's what maybe that's what Barack Obama is. Maybe he's one of these immortals. Maybe that's what the whole explanation of the, him looking like, Akhenaten or something is. Maybe he's one of these immortals. They've been bringing him out through history and, staging his death and everything. Because, I mean, really, maybe it is. Because there was a famous clip of Obama during the elections in 2008 where he said, and I remember covering this on the show because it stuck out like a sore thumb to me, because that statement, I am, that's a Masonic statement. It's a Masonic in nature. And he said, Barack Obama said, and I quote, I am what represents a return to traditional American values. Not my campaign is that, or not my, my agenda or anything. No, he said, I am. And that declaration of that, I think, I don't know. Well, we'll see once we get to that chapter. But man, this is very odd. Were all of those witnesses lying? Probably not. The Brotherhood occasionally sponsored resurrections as a way to deify select members. This is what had been done with Jesus. In fact, those Brotherhood branches which deify Saint Germain, which is certainly not all of them, often give Saint Germain the same spiritual status as Jesus. Why Saint Germain was chosen for deification may never fully be understood. Perhaps his successes on behalf of the Brotherhood were far more numerous than we know. Whatever the reason might have been, it is clear that Saint Germain was mortal. He did die, if not on the reported date of his demise, then surely within a decade of it. During his lifetime, and still today, many people have labeled Saint Germain a fraud and a charlatan. Some critics contend that Saint Germain was nothing more than a glib con artist of common birth whose entry into royal society came about solely through his wiles and colorful personality. The evidence we have looked at clearly does not support this argument. It was not easy for an outsider to enter so many royal circles and remain there. Saint Germain's involvement in the overthrow of Peter of Russia was not a petty scam. It was a major coup which altered the political landscape of Europe. Yes, Saint Germain was a charlatan on a number of matters, but that made his political activities and connections no less significant. Saint Germain's color and flamboyance obscured a deadly serious side to his life. His travels and activities tied the Brotherhood to the Hessian princes, the intrigues of France, the wars of Europe, and the paper money bankers. The personality of Saint Germain reveals that when we discuss behind-the-scenes influences, we are not necessarily talking about eerie characters who skulk about in the shadows doing incomprehensible things. We are usually discussing people who are as lively and colorful as the rest of us. They succeed and they fail. They have their charms and their quirks like everyone else. They exercise influence over people, but not puppet-like control. They are affected by the same things that everyone else is affected by. These observations lead to an important point. When some writers describe the influence of the Brotherhood network in history, and when some when some read about it, they envision, there was a typo, misprint there. And when some read about it, they envision strange subterranean occult forces at work. This is an illusion generated by the mysticism and the sorcery of the Brotherhood itself. Changes in society, whether good or bad, are caused by people doing things. The Brotherhood network has simply been an effective channel to get people to act. I don't believe that. I got to disagree with him. That's a huge. I don't agree with that at all. And the influence of the Brotherhood network only appears mysterious and occult because so many actions have gone unrecorded and unknown to outsiders. But that still makes it a cult. A cult means hidden. So if it's been you just, that's a major fuck up on his part right there. The influence of the Brotherhood network only appears to have been mysterious and occult because so many actions have gone unrecorded or unknown. Well, I got news for you, Jack. Occult means unrecorded or unknown. That's what it means. So that whole statement's asinine. That whole statement is null and void because he just come on. It's not a cult, but it is unknown and unrecorded to outsiders. That makes it a cult because a cult means hidden. Hello. Sorry, it just shit like that drives me crazy. The corrupted Brotherhood network does not have today, nor has it ever had effective occult powers. Well, that's bullshit too. Come on. Oh man, see, I should have known. It's been good all through there. Now see what he does? He tells you about the immortals, and then he ends the chapter on the immortals with this downplaying horseshit. Now he tries to downplay it. Notice how they do that? they allow, right when they get you on something that they know is deep information, they end, so the last thing you remember is, well, they didn't have occult powers. The world can therefore be remade for the better by people simply acting and doing. No magic wand is needed, just some elbow grease. Well, it's a fact these guys are have been using occult magic, and they've even been using sorcery, and they've been using this in the, I mean, look at the corporate symbology, the corporate symbols, look at government buildings. I mean, come on, Bramley. Give me a break here, buddy. These guys, the occult came from these guys. They came from these custodial brotherhood networks. This is, it's all part of that. You even said that earlier in your book. I don't know, man. You know, it makes you wonder sometimes, you know. I don't know how somebody could say that. He said that earlier in his book, folks. You'll remember. Then he goes back now and he says, you know, blah, 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 this. You know, you got to be aware of this stuff, folks, that, again, a lot of good information here. Warrants us reading this entire book and warrants us going through it. And I'm glad that along with being able to point out some additional things when we read this book and talk about it, that we can also point out things that are, you know, bad as well. So, all right. Well, that's our show. We're going to leave it there for tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and being with us here and staying up late with us. Please support our work. We need to meet our goal on the chip and banner. Use the donate button if you want to support us and help us grow. You know, the more support we get, the more we can do. And please help the people out there. There's a handful of people out there that donate and keep us going every month, and we need more support. So, you know, help those people out, please, and help them help us. So I love you so much. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. My name is Josh Reeves. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great night.